Hello again. Today I'm going to make a lamb tagine. It serves 6 people and there are quite a lot of ingredients on the list, so don't be put off. It's worth doing. I would do the whole batch, and if it's too much for you, rather than halve it, I'd make the whole quantity and freeze what's left over. Now in my glass mixing bowl I've got 1 kilo of lamb, and I've got a mixture of stewing lamb, lamb necks, and I tend to buy lamb when it's on special offer because it's not the cheapest of meats. You might even find a butterflied leg of lamb on special offer. And if you find some lamb, stick it in the freezer until you're ready to make your tagine. So I've cut it up into cubes with my Japanese knife, which is really sharp. And to that I'm going to add the spices. Now, it's quite a lot of different spices. So what I've got is a teaspoon of paprika. I've got 3 teaspoons of coriander. I've got 3 teaspoons of cumin, half a teaspoon of turmeric or turmeric, half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper, and I've got a teaspoon of ground ginger. If you don't want to invest in all those different spices, you can buy instead Ras Al Hanout, and that's a mixture of all of those and more besides, and rose petals. Now, my family are not keen on that sort of floral flavour, so I tend not to use that, but you could if you wanted to. You would need a couple of tablespoons of that to make up this quantity. So what I'm going to do is mix those together before I put them into the meat. Otherwise you'll find that some pieces of meat have only got turmeric or only got ginger. So give it a good old mix. It's a shame, isn't it, because they look lovely. And then in it goes on top. And to that I'm going to add some orange juice. Now we need the zest, so I've already got that into a bowl. The zest is going to be used for garnish later, but we need the juice of an orange, and that goes in as well. It smells lovely, and I'm going to let this marinade for about 5 hours because I'm going out later. I'll come back and finish this off this afternoon. So I'll give that a bit of a stir. See if you can get your meat coated with these spices. And then in will go the orange juice. Bendy spoons are not the best for this sort of job. Right, let's add the orange juice. And you can marinate this for, well, I suppose the minimum is going to be an hour. The maximum would be 24 hours. And if you're going to do it for 24 hours, it needs to go in the fridge, whereas if you're doing it for 4 or 5 hours like I am, I'm going to just leave it in a cool place. And I'm doing this in November, so it's pretty chilly in some parts of our house. Would you believe it? Facebook reminded me this morning that on this very day, 7 years ago, I was making tagine. How about that? Unbelievable. Right, there we are. So that can now just sit with a piece of cling film over the top, somewhere cool. And I'll come back to that this afternoon, okay? Here we are then, back again. It's the afternoon and my lamb has had 5.5 hours marinating, and so it's time to get it fried into the casserole and then all the other ingredients added. Now here's our meat. It's had several hours and it's taken on a lovely colour. I have stirred it a couple of times just to make sure everything's coated, but the thing to do next of all is have a frying pan and put a tablespoon of olive oil in. You can guess that, can't you? And we get that hot. Now when you are sealing meat like this, you mustn't put too much in at once because it lowers the temperature and it starts to steam rather than fry. And what we want to do is seal the spices on the surface of the meat. It's not about sealing juices in, it's about sealing the spices onto the meat. So we'll get this hot. And we're going to do this in probably 3 or 4, probably 3 batches, because there's quite a lot of it. So you might suddenly discover it's all done as if by magic. I've got tongs ready, I've got all sorts of tools ready for turning, and I'm going to get some of this into here. So a good big spoon. Right, so that's about 1/3 of it. And I'm going to use a knife and fork, separate the pieces, so that each of the surfaces gets nice and brown. I'll tip it slightly so the olive oil runs. And then I'll turn the pieces over and put them into the big casserole. Now you need a very, very big oven-proof casserole that has a lid that fits tightly, and you can see mine's one of those cast iron ones. There we are, that's our fourth batch, and I'm going to just turn the pan down, get those into the casserole. Tip the juice in from there. Okay, now we've got to deglaze the pan. I don't know if you can see it, but there's lots and lots of bits that have got stuck to the bottom. And I'm going to put some water in, it's going to splash like crazy and spit. And what you do is you use a fish slice and scrape all those bits off. And that's where all the flavour is. So that is going in the pan as well, in the casserole. Right, that's that. Okay, now we move on. A little bit more olive oil. And we're going to add some onions. I've got one really big onion that I've sliced. And I'm going to fry that gently for 3 or 4 minutes. What am I going to use? That, I think. There we are, you can see that. Just slices of onion. So the onions are softening quite gently. It's taken 3 or 4 minutes. And at this point I'm going to put the oven on. And I'm going to turn it on to gas mark 4, which is 180 degrees Celsius, 160 if you've got a fan oven. And we need to just get that hot while we finish off the rest of these ingredients. Now we add some more things, and we're going to add a tablespoon of tomato puree with 4 crushed cloves of garlic. In they go. And also tablespoon or so, is it 1 or 2 tablespoons? 2 tablespoons of plain flour that we sprinkle in. And we give that a few minutes, just, oh well, 1 minute, not a few, 1 minute just to mix together. It looks a bit unpromising, it's okay. Fear not, all will be well. Just give them a bit of a mix. And to that, we're now going to add 2 cans of tomatoes. Out of them as we can. That's our first one. Here comes the second one. Oh, that one's got an upside down label on it. That's strange, isn't it? 2 cans of tomatoes. That stir. We're going to add some chicken stock. Now we need a pint or 500 mils, but we're not going to put it all in at once. We'll put in about 2/3 of it at this stage and keep the rest in case, as the thing cooks, it dries out a bit. Depends on how tight your lid is. So 2/3 of that. That's about right. And then also the last thing to go in at the moment is a cinnamon stick. I'm going to turn that up so it boils. And the cinnamon stick is enormous. Look at that. It's huge. It's for extra flavour. So we'll get this to boil. And then we pour it over the top of the casserole, and it goes into the oven with its lid for an hour and a half. And after an hour and a half we add 150 grams of chopped apricots. I tend to cut them up with scissors because it's easier. And a can of chickpeas that have been drained and rinsed. And if you like dates, you can put dates in as well. So those will go in later, but this needs to go on the top of our meat. Now our mixture is coming up to a boil. It's plopping away quite nicely. I'm going to turn it off and pour this on top of the meat. you can see that there is a lot of this. It's worth doing it, even if you don't want to eat it all on the same day, and you can put some in the freezer. Give that a stir. Stir it around. There we are. And then the lid goes on. Into the oven for an hour and a half. Now the timer has gone off and our tagine has had an hour and a half, so I'm going to take it out, check the liquid level and add more stock if necessary, and then I've got 2 more ingredients to add. Ooh, there we are. I wish you could smell this because it's absolutely amazing. There it is, bubbling away. So I'm going to put in a tin of chickpeas that I've drained and washed. So if I stir those in, I can see just how thick it is, and that actually looks rather good. So that's my chickpeas. Whoops, that's the cinnamon. Gosh, look at that, it's huge. And the next thing are the apricots. I tend to cut them with a pair of scissors. So all I do is cut it in half like that, then put them back to back and cut across. And that's how I cut apricots. So in go the apricots, and it's 150 grams of apricots. And at this stage, if you like it to be quite sweet, you can add dates, pitted dates, so no stones, and cut those in half and add probably 75 grams of dates if you like. They will make it quite sweet, and that's not to everybody's taste. But there we are. So apricots and chickpeas. Don't want to put any more stock in there. And of course we've still got the orange rind that we'll use as a garnish at the very end. So lid back on and in the oven just for another half an hour. Okay? Now our tagine has had its extra half an hour, so I'm going to take it out. Oh, let's have a look. Oh my, that looks jolly good. Minnie has come to investigate. Got a cat walking through here. I'm going to get the cinnamon stick out with the help of that fork. There we are. And the last thing to add is our sprinkle of orange zest. So I'll give it a stir. And there we are, we've just got a little bit of orange zest that goes on the top. And I'm going to serve this with couscous, which can either be plain couscous or flavoured. It's entirely up to you. And if you've got some left over, freeze it for another day. It's really nice. Have a go, let me know how you get on. Bye.